Welcome, everybody. We continue our celebration, the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and we are excited to welcome Sue Chapman, WPI Hall of Famer. Sue Chapman. Sue started coaching here in the mid-'70s, 1975. And Sue, we were talking before, you were at UMass, and you graduated class of 1973. So you were there when Title IX was passed and enacted. And what was the feeling that when that happened? It probably doesn't resonate the way it does now.
No, not at all. It was you knew it was happening, but you really didn't pay much attention. I think you're more worried about trying to graduate, play in your teams, and move on and get a job. So we really didn't think about it till I actually started working at my first job. So, it was, like I said, you knew it was there, but you didn't really know that much. You didn't really know that much about it. It wasn't until I actually started working that it really affected my life and my career.
So you went back to UMass, worked for a few years, and then get this job close to your hometown of West Boylston at the WPI in 1975. And for those of you that don't know, WPI had just become co-ed a few years before that. Explain arriving at WPI.
Well, it was time for me to move on from UMass. I was working at intramurals, and I wanted to get back into athletics. So I applied there, and I had kind of family connections there. My grandfather actually graduated from there in 1921. My uncle went there. So it was kind of cool. He thought that was kind of neat. And it was to really start a women's program. So, I applied. I was lucky enough to get it. And again, I grew up in West Boylston, so it was around the corner. So it seemed like the perfect opportunity for me to get started in athletics. And certainly was a great move for me.
So you arrive here and programs are in their infancy, some of them club, some of them just becoming varsity. What is it like starting athletic programs from the ground level?
Well, luckily there were not a lot, but some great women that were starting there. Pat Flaherty, and a few other people that had a couple club teams and a basketball and softball team. And so when I came there, it made it a little easier to start them, to get them going right away. And so it let me really hit the ground running to make those teams varsity as fast as I could. And that's what we did. And then we added field hockey, and we slowly progressed to little different sports.
And then the added challenge of just admitting women maybe 7 years before your arrival, just having women to field these teams made that a challenge. Can you explain that?
I think when I started, there were maybe at one point 125 women. I don't know if there were quite that many when I got there, but I know that was always a magic number at the beginning with some of our teams. And so for us to have three what eventually became varsity teams was a big deal. But they all participated. So many of the women participated, whether they were real strong athletes or not. They participated. They wanted to be there. They loved the opportunity. And that, it really gave us a great start because of the quality of the women that were there and worked hard at it to help us make that program go, especially Pat. She was actually a grad student she became a grad student my first year there. So she was a club team, so she could still play, which was great.
And what were the facilities like at that point? I think safe to say all of our student athletes, all of our students are kind of spoiled with the wonderful sports and rec center we have, and the redone outdoor fields. That wasn't always the case here at WPI.
No, the gym was great. Obviously, at Harrington, we practiced in the old alumni gym, which obviously any of the new people don't have any idea what that was like, playing with the track around the top of it. You could actually shoot from under the overhang. No one remembered that part of it, but it was a challenge. Let's put it that way, because men expected to have the priorities. Women didn't have those priorities. So we would oftentimes, one of our field hockey practice field was actually behind Higgins, in the lawn behind Higgins' house, which is probably not there anymore. I don't think it's there anymore. It's just a little space that had a path walking through it to go back and forth. We'd use a football field. As you can imagine, a grass football field for field hockey was not very good. And again, even luckily that got converted to turf way before a lot of people put turf in there, which helped our program. So it was always a challenge because, you have a new program starting and taking the space of the old programs. But we made it work. We found a way to make it work every time.
And things that we take for granted, like, sitting down and meeting and determining splitting up equal practice times, that always didn't occur in the beginning. That had to be extremely frustrating.
Oh yeah, no, it was always a battle. It was that first, whether it was to become a varsity team or it was to become place to practice, the time to practice, it was always a battle. Bernie Brown was instrumental way back, Vice President of Student Affairs, in helping us move forward and becoming varsity teams as fast as we could, and get the opportunity to try to get in the facilities. It was hard, and I understand the guys were like, "Wait a minute, why are women coming? We just have 10 people on our team, and a lot of them are beginners. Why should we have equal time?" Well, we deserved equal time to make our program better. So it was a slow process, but it worked. We got there.
And then you, of course, coached the women's basketball and the field hockey programs, and the field hockey, but both had success, particularly the field hockey team. Talk about how rewarding that was to start to begin to taste that success in the 80s.
Oh, it was awesome. Both field hockey and basketball did well when we got to the late 70s and then into the early 80s. Field hockey, we got that new turf field which really helped us become a really good team at that time. We actually got to go to nationals. We got to compete regionally, which was amazing. And even that situation, we had to fight to fly to Virginia. It was like, well, you can be on a bus, and we're like, no, why do we have to be on a bus? We put the guys on a bus. So we got there. We got to fly there. We came in 6 out of what, like, I don't know if there were 14 teams or whatever. So it was really wonderful, the program. It gave us a good start to build on to the awesome success that they have today. So, and even basketball was the same thing. We competed regionally. We did pretty well for the size of school that we had, the number of women.
And then if you could touch on a little bit, being that at that point the only women's coach and administrator in our department, what was that perspective like?
Well, let's just say it was a challenge. I always felt like I was butting heads with people, mostly in the athletic department, not so much around campus. I had some great support from some of the old time administrators, Ray Bowles and some of the president back then. They were very supportive in student affairs of what we were doing. It was more not fighting, that wouldn't be the right word, but more battling with the guys in the department of, well, we need our place. We should put time in before we get anything, that type of thing. So that was the challenge. Although I was good friends with everybody in the department, and but they didn't always agree with what I wanted to do. But
Yeah. Well,
I never gave up. I was basically a pain in the neck.
I could never imagine that. And Sue, right now the WPI men's and women's programs compete in the New England Women's and Men's Athletic Conference. Before that, it was the New 8, and before that, it was the New 6. And can you tell us how WPI got into the New 8?
Well, during my time, toward the end of my tenure at WPI, we weren't in a conference, and everybody was starting to get into conferences. So with Mount Holyoke, the two of us, the two ADs, went to the New 6 and said, we really want to get in. We really push. You need us in your league. You need our women's program, because it was only the women's program that went into it. And luckily for us, we were able to join. So they went from the New 6 to the New 8, and it really gave us a start, which, in hindsight now, you look at it, wow, it's where you guys really are in your entire program. And what a great conference that it is.
And if you could just talk about being around other like-minded, high academic institutions and the access to championships, what a great experience that was.
Oh yeah, no, it was awesome. It was playing, like you said, like-minded academic institutions. It gave us a good schedule to compete in. It was, there weren't the AQs so much right then, but it still was the competition and things that really helped the program, I think, move forward and to the point where the men became part of it after I left there.
And then you get to run your own department a few years after you leave here for right down the road to Worcester State and become the athletic director. What did you take from your experience here at WPI that helped you be a successful athletic director at Worcester State?
I think learning to work hard, put the time in, seeing what worked, in terms of, I was always a firm believer, everybody wanted teams to be clubs first and then slowly become varsity, but nobody wants to compete that way. You want to compete in the varsity team. So, learning to see how that worked there, the importance of facilities, which we know, and the idea of being patient as well, and just putting the time in and waiting for the right things to happen, So, because when I got there, their program was relatively weak. They needed some help. Their facilities. I mean, WPI's facilities were way better than Worcester State's facilities. So, that took time to help work on and building those facilities and making them better. Making the connection again with the administration to support what we were trying to do.
And as we celebrate the 50th year of Title IX, what do you really think about? What do you want to celebrate here as we think about the advancements that women have been able to make here at WPI, over at Worcester State, across the region, across the country? What are you most proud of?
Well, to see what WPI has done is amazing. To look at the facilities, to look at the success of the program, how the department has grown. It's exciting to watch that, to see their success. I think it's just awesome. It's always been kind of my place because it's where I got my start, really, and it's just awesome. And see what Charisse has done with basketball and some of the different coaches. I don't know all the other coaches as much now. It's just been amazing, and really proud to see what they've done. And I think, to me, the thing that stands out is when you guys named the Senior Athlete of the Year award after me. That was like, wow! I thought that was so cool. As a matter of fact, I can tell you a story. I belong to a yacht club on the Cape, and I met a young lady whose mother is a member, lives in Florida, whatever, actually aunt, and she told me that her great niece was there, and she's a student at WPI. So, and she's on the track team. Well, she's your pole vaulter. And so we got chatting. I said, well, she said, I had worked there once. I said, well, that award, that Sue Chapman award, that's me. And she's like, oh, wow. It's kind of funny, because to me, it's like, okay, yeah, it's an award and stuff. But, to have them say, oh, you are that person, that old person that actually coached there. So that was kind of cool. So I'm really proud to meet the kids, to see what they do, and proud to see how successful some of my former athletes are and what they're doing. And, because they weren't much younger than I am. So the older ones. So I'm just proud to see what they do. And even Worcester State, to see what they're doing. Their facilities have finally changed, getting the new gym finally and stuff. It's been great to see. Almost jealous. I wish I had some of that when I was doing it.
Oh, yeah, a lot of hard work went in both places as the facilities were being upgraded. You were a large part of both those efforts, and we thank you for spending your time today talking about your reflections on the 50th anniversary of a Title IX Hall of Famer, WPI Hall of Famer, Sue Chapman. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you. Appreciate it.